everybody, welcome to Portsmouth This Week. We're very pleased to welcome to our studios a couple of members of the Portsmouth Conservation Commission. They are Conni Harding, she's the chair, and a member of the commission also is David Reise. He's a member, and they're here, and I expect to find out a lot myself about the Conservation Commission, what it is and what it does. I'm sure the people in the community will be interested in the work of this group. Conni, you want to start with what it is, how it works?
Conservation Commission, currently we have 5 of 7 members, are pretty new to this, less than 2 years on the commission. Claudette Weisinger is still on the commission. She's done a fabulous job keeping it going. And right now what we're doing on the commission is looking for areas to maybe make the aesthetic areas in Portsmouth look a little nicer. So I can get into details in a minute. But we've done different things. We've worked with Gary Crosby on reviewing the comprehensive community plan section. We did have a little event a year ago, Earth Day event down at the Brown House, just raising awareness on how to treat your lawn in a more environmentally friendly way, or treat weeds. And we're just, we're new at this, and we're looking for ideas, and we're open to any suggestions.
It's, you want to add to that at all in terms of purposes of the commission?
Well, the one thing is that it's interesting. We have 7 members, and that's we're under actually a directive of the state. That's we're the only commission that's required by the state in the town, and there's certain guidelines we have to go through, so we have a charter that we follow. It's a term of 3 years, it's voluntary, and they're all open meetings. Everybody's welcome to attend.
When are they? Are they regular every month or whatever?
The third Thursday of the month at 6 o'clock, Portsmouth Town Hall, up in the Portsmouth room.
And it is on the town website, as all things are.
Okay,
Posted that
that's
way.
good to know. That's good to know.
We follow all the Open Meetings Acts and Robert's Rules of Order and all those fun things.
Oh, I notice it's all spelled out.
All those fun
I
things.
was amused, not amused, but edified at the charter and the law that created it and all of the aspects and all the chapters and all that. It strikes me just in the little time that I've known you that it's a great idea, but it takes horsepower and it takes volunteers. And
One of the biggest things is, and Connie was talking about this earlier, is to get it reorganized again. It kind of floated along for a few years, and good things happened, but we've got, what, 5 new members? And they're enthusiastic, and they're young, and they've got good ideas. So
all of the above.
and that's what you need, you know.
Enthusiasm.
So we're going to provide some leadership, and there were other things that happened. At one point, all the open space was controlled by the Conservation Commission, and that spurred off into its own separate thing years ago. And we're going to try to encourage that to come back under our umbrella, because they've dissolved. And that was when they were purchasing open space, I believe. That was what that was all about. They were looking for places to buy.
Was the open space created the way this was created?
Actually, it was a subcommittee of this group.
Oh, it was a subcommittee.
Right. So we've managed to pull all the old records. I think Claudette Weisinger had a lot of those. And we're trying to go back and review those and just bring that back all into the fold so that we're back to what our original charter was, to be doing just to do everything.
It sounds like a mammoth job.
Well, that's why you need young help.
Yeah, because it requires a lot of dedication and work, and
everybody's busy, I'll tell you.
well, that's that's the problem with volunteer groups and commissions and so forth, is that they depend on the populace. That unless members have a stake in something, why work for nothing? Why involve? And so what do you gain from it? You know. So
I think this will take more interest on as you see more development, and as you get more development, and the land starts going away, people start, like you said, thinking about it, and they're going to get involved and maybe trying to help and see what they can do to preserve. And we've done some good things. We've done Heritage Park. which is right
Tell
above the
people where Heritage Park
Right above
is
the
in
trans-
case they don't know it.
right above the transfer station. It's been everything from signs, it has paved walks. It's actually not a bad walk. Right now, we've redone some stone walls. And the scouts get involved. She's
Right,
done.
two of the projects in their infancy that we've been meeting with are 2 Portsmouth High School seniors, Nick Johnson and Austin Francis. Nick is the one in charge of, he's working to get something going at Heritage Park to clean it out, and Dave can tell you a little more about that. But Austin Francis, we have a beautiful array of trees coming into the Glen area, the Garden of 70 Park. The brown house is now done, and the array of trees is beautiful, and it's been work to preserve those, but the stone walls are in great disarray. So if we can get someone young to organize a community event, to get together with a stone wall expert and teach us how to preserve those stone walls, how to not trample over them during the soccer games. And I think getting the youth involved is the
Yeah.
most important thing, because
Yeah.
it's really up to them to keep these up and to know the history.
Well, that's important too, because if they don't understand what the history is, they won't be wanting,
Right.
they won't know what they're supposed to carry on.
Right.
You know, they'll just be looking forward and not realizing that there is a lot of history in Portsmouth.
Time's gone by, some poor farmer and his crew picked up those stones, and some of them came over on boats and so forth, and they had to be placed, and they weren't cemented, they were just placed in an arrangement, and took a lot of time and were very meaningful, and over the years, people knock them down, and they fall apart, and the weather beats them, and people say, yeah, it's just a wall,
Right.
you know? So there's a lot of work
They'll
there.
appreciate it more than after they put it back together.
Oh, I can imagine picking up those stones one after another, but mostly the craft and the task of putting them in a not only aesthetic.
We thought about actually getting together and maybe having some lessons, remember?
Well, that's what the Scout is going to be doing, is having
Be
lessons.
training them.
Training them how to
Oh,
do it.
is that right?
Put
Yeah.
some signs up, please protect our walls, don't climb on them. I think we get so used to the beautiful open space we have in Portsmouth, but when other communities come to that area for soccer tournaments, you can almost feel a breath of fresh air because of the open space, because of the land and the walls.
That's a beautiful piece
So,
of property.
yeah, so just to at least have that area up it a little bit, get people involved to really make it look, even better than it already
Well, I
looks.
think the Brown House is sort of a capstone. Well, there's a lot going on there. Starting with the manor house at the bottom of the hill that was almost sold for $1. In fact, I think it was sold for $1, but replenished, and then the open fields and all that's been done in the Brown House, and of course the where the soccer, the polo tournaments
Right.
and all that. That's yeah, a lot of people don't appreciate open space. You have to be, I guess, from downtown Providence or a city.
We take it for
Newport.
granted.
Yeah. Well, we do. We do, and we like views and sunrises and sunsets. I used to live in a bigger city, and in my backyard, all I could see was the sky straight up.
Right.
There was nothing on either side of me. So, any projects? Talk a bit about that grass thing. That intrigues me. What is that invasive grass business?
Well, what Nick Johnson wants to do for his senior project is to get rid of that grass, and he's still working on it. He's going to organize a date in January, February.
Yeah.
And Dave can tell you about the history of that land.
If you don't mow a field, it'll come up in poison ivy, bittersweet, small trees. I know I've got land, so I know
That's
you
when you
have to
call
cut
the
it.
goats, I guess.
Well, you can do that. That's one way of doing it. But where that is, it actually looks over and down the hill, and that's where the skirmish took place, right at the bottom of the hill. And if you look at there's a state map on the Battle of Rhode Island, which was a very important battle. There's a big ring that right at the bottom where they've got it like a border. It actually extends further than that, because I've had people metal detecting on my property. And there's a guy by the name of Jim Bailey, who's also done Sweetberry Farm. He's found coins and things up there. He's kind of renowned. He came down to my place, and in about 10 minutes he found musket balls and things and artifacts like that were probably from that battle.
Now, was that stone or whatever you call it, that was always there, and the heritage was on top, and the battle was on top?
No, it was in the area, that was what it was.
Oh, it
That
was in the
basic-
area.
That was basically an overlook. It was basically, I believe, between East and West Main Road.
Okay, but a good place.
And up and down that hill, yeah. But
good-
that was that's just a vantage point to look
Yeah,
at. But
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure they were up there, doing
Yeah,
their
well,
thing.
it's hard to imagine,
Because that's the two high points are there, and then you got Fort Butts Hill.
yeah, yeah.
So-
It's kind of hard to imagine what it was like before all the development, when you could see forever, as they say, look all the way to the water, and with your little spyglass, you could see any boats coming up and so forth, and now that's all been covered up in overgrown trees and so forth and so on.
Another thing we were going to do is we're looking into signage. I mean, we just, the overlook that overlooks Carnegie, that was another prominent place that we had, that was a scout project, right?
Right,
Yeah.
Nathan Manise did a nice job at Heritage Park with his sign. He got some money from the Historical Society. So the other thing about our commission is like having these scouts come to us, and for senior projects, we can be the catalyst to put them in touch with certain people in town.
And we're trying to ensure the signage is up to date, and it's been renewed. Some of it was done years ago, and you can't read it anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the only way somebody's going to know that there was something historical there. So we're
Right.
looking into doing more of that.
And signs.
They explain what
unless-
went on in the area. They'll
Yeah,
explain, like,
yeah.
they'll have a map, and they'll explain, not just a sign, but it'll be,
Is it like one of those structures that has?
yeah, it'll have a clear front on it, made out of
Okay,
plexiglass.
okay, those-
With like a map or a listing of what went on, and maybe some pictures and stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's
you'll
great.
understand what went on.
Well, it's a lot of work, but it's something that needs to be done, and especially the aesthetic end is so important. Huh? I read the paper occasionally, and I see that certain parts of Newport have ugly-looking entrances to the city and all that, and the people get quite upset that they wanted a pleasant experience, and that holds for every community. You have any other things, Connie, that you're working on?
Well, the aesthetics is, like you said, is really important to us, and like I said, we're still fairly new at this, trying to figure out what other communities do. In Newport, I understand that their Conservation Commission is run by the Land Trust. Middletown has more reactionary committee. They get called in when a gas station's coming to town, and it's just, so we're trying to be a little more proactive, and it deserves a lot of attention, this commission. We're looking for help. If anyone has any interest, it's maybe been on another commission in another town, and how they've, gone about. There's a lot going on in town that people don't know about. The Restoration Advisory Board, I know we're both members down on the
And
waterfront.
we might be looking at things where the planning board, if they've got some kind of big job coming in, we'll go to and start attending those meetings.
Well, you get the West Side development.
Right, and seeing what's going on there. Well, I wanted to be on the West Side Development Committee, but I guess they were filled. But, yeah, that's a big thing, working with the planning board, watching what's going on,
Yeah, that's
keeping your
a
ear.
big chunk of our town.
Right, and that West Side Development
yeah.
is going to be something. That could be a lot of open space. We were hoping that it won't just get built up, but that's a whole other thing.
I can see a lot of developers smacking their lips with a hillside view of the ocean there, the river, and what that could mean, but, well, in its due time, yeah.
I mean, we all know we need a tax base here, commercial tax base, residential. It's all about being sustainable and what is really going to bring real profits into Portsmouth. It's not going to cost us so much money to run these things and have our public sources all, capped out.
Yeah.
But, I mean, open space goes so far. When you have a destination to go to and there's a park you can go to with your children and have a picnic lunch. Right now in Portsmouth, I don't even know of one, but Bristol's done a beautiful job. Different communities have done a nice job with having the open space
Yeah.
and then going up the road for a cup of coffee or an ice cream and keeping
Yeah.
the businesses going. But it's all got to be sustainable. Too many towns have done it wrong, and they're all trying to, backpedal a little bit and try to, do it right now.
East Providence, where I was from originally, has gone with this open space thing. Over where the carousel, Crescent Park Carousel, they
Right.
built this wonderful piece of land for picnics and everything else, and they did something up in the north end too. So that's the kind of
Right.
thing you're talking about.
Right, take what we have
Yeah.
and try to make it so that it's more user-friendly. Because sometimes it's just an overlook or something and there's nothing else there. But if you put a place where people could sit and enjoy the view, maybe some benches and stuff like that, and make sure that the grass is always cut so they can get into certain areas. You know.
Well, down there on Bristol Ferry Road, we have the park that just the town just bought, and what a great spot to have a picnic, and there is a bench there, and suitable for meditation. They sit there and just look at the Mount Hope Bridge and the thing. It's we need that, in this day of hurry up and competition and so forth. They need to slow down and smell the grass or
And
the
the other
roses.
thing we wanted to do was possibly list some of these places on the website of the town, so that you can, like if somebody was looking in, what can I do for a day? It's raining out, so they'll look at the website, and they can, or if a good day they can drive and see some of the sites and get some of the history of
Yeah,
Portsmouth.
So
a lot of
you
things.
want to do all this?
That's what the young guys are for. They liked all this.
Oh,
they,
the
they
young
like,
guys.
They like
huh?
all this computer stuff.
It's your wisdom and their muscle that's
Yeah.
going to work out.
Yep.
Um,
That's why
and-
we're
and the
we're a
kids-
team.
You're getting the kids involved. Do you have contact with high schoolers or
Yep,
middle
yep,
schoolers
she
a
does,
lot?
yep.
Do you give talks, or do you?
Not yet, but it's a great point, because I still have a junior in high school, and I'm still very involved with Troop 1 Portsmouth Scouts. So that's my little in to get, they come to me
Okay,
for projects.
all right.
But it's a real good point. Right now, there's a little problem with field trips in town. So
Yes.
maybe if we can start promoting to the teachers and the educational community, let's do some walkable field trips. How about the middle school getting a walking path to Prescott Farm? When I visited Prescott Farm, they said it's unusual that Portsmouth doesn't visit here. There's so much
that
information
something?
there,
Yeah.
and it's as simple as a walking path right over there. They don't even need a bus. So it's, just sometimes we look for these big trips and events, and it's right in our backyard.
It's part of that trend that I've read about called staycation.
Staycation, right.
Yeah. Instead of getting on a boat or a plane and going far, you go down the hill or visit the community next door. Yeah. Well, it's important in your work, I think, to attract interest.
Right.
And I think the schools and the scouts and other sort of youthful organizations need to be approached and need to be told that you exist. And especially with students who have these so-called projects.
Right.
There you
Yeah,
are.
they're looking for an outlet,
Sure.
and we could be it.
Yeah. You got to capitalize on that. So you mentioned earlier about this, your work also sort of melding or being part of the comprehensive plan. You want to?
Right.
What's the-
That's ongoing right now, and that's the plan that's the major plan for the town. What we expect to be in the next 20 years. That's the 20-year plan for the town. And there's a lot of places where we address things in there. As far as everything from providing water, land, farming, the agriculture in this town, because those two things go hand in hand. I mean,
So are you on the
open-
comprehensive plan?
Oh, yeah.
You are.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I
So
mean,
you get-
open space is a byproduct of farming. I mean, so if you don't have farming, you don't have any open space. Because most of the vistas we have are people that are growing things, and I think we should give them support.
Right.
Because I'm in the agricultural committee too, so that
What
that all-
committee aren't you
yeah,
on?
that helps.
When are you going to run for office?
Yeah.
You sound like you're governor material.
No. I am on the water board, but other than
You
that,
are, you're on the water board too?
We
Oh,
can't run
geez.
for office
so I
now.
can't run for office now. I guess
Well,
that's-
I did a little feature down at in Middletown at the farmer's market, and I happened to talk to a farmer, and he was talking about years ago there were so many farms on the island, so many, and he said they were down to like 3 or 4 in the Middletown area. And that's kind of hard to believe that it was so extensive. But farming is, well, from what I read, is a tough market, and you're in competition with the big people. Well, I'm glad to hear that, as you mentioned it, proactive, reactive, and so forth. the public is funny. You're going to put up a big Target store, then they come marching like an army. Whereas if you say, I've got a great idea, why don't we open this space or put in a little park, or why don't we do this? Or, well, I'll get around to it. And you've got to wrestle them and so forth and bring them in. So what other kinds of things is the Conservation Commission involved in?
I think with that, what you've just brought up as the target, I think people in town are really smart, and our taxpayers are very smart on what they really want and what they're willing to, because it wasn't just a Target, it was a Lowe's, and it was going to go right down West Main
Oh,
Road, just
sure.
like Middletown, one big thing of sprawl. So I think the folks are really into this, and I think they just need to be invited to get involved with the Comprehensive Community Plan, because that Comprehensive Community Plan, there was one line in there that was able to be used to not have a 155,000 square foot store come to town. And I want to tell the new generation, because there are some, young moms out there that I do hear, they want the Target, but they don't understand the whole ramification of that and all of the wear and tear on the roads and the traffic and everything else. Right now, thank goodness, we have a size cap in town, so you can only build a single-use store of 50,000 square feet. But getting back to that, I think the people just need to be invited a little more, because I never stepped foot in Town Hall until 2007, when a Target was coming to town. And I got involved that way and said, oh, this is how this government works. So I'd like to reach out to people to pay attention. I know you all have kids in schools and a lot of the younger folks, but just, see what maybe would excite you to get involved in town.
They can come to the conservation meetings.
Right.
If they want, and they can provide their input. I mean, because if they come and they want to talk, they can get up and, say a few things. If they've got some ideas, and it may be something that maybe we can carry forward.
It strikes me that one of your priorities is outreach.
That's been difficult for a lot of commissions.
You have meetings, so, it's got to be more than that. Have you done any lassoing lately?
Well, we've got
In our spare time.
well, we've got a full complement of members, so we do have
That's a good sign.
covered, and we don't usually have too many guests show up at our meetings, although they are posted. But maybe we'll come up with something better to do, put some signs out or something, because that's what we like to do, is get more people involved.
Oh, sure.
Right.
Sure. There's, in addition to the work that you do, you also create an ear, so people have a place
Well, it's an ear,
to come
it's
and
it's a platform, yeah, for them to get up
Exactly.
and maybe present something if they've
Yeah.
got some ideas, yeah.
Yeah, that's so important. And I don't know, as an old timer, I've seen so many towns and neighborhoods just wiped out with development. And the sort of a homely thing that I use is turtle shells. You look at some guy's great idea to develop this long development, and they empty, and all you have left are shells along. All that land is gone, all that view is gone, all that opportunity is gone. There's a shell there. And if you like turtles, you're all set. But if you like the other stuff, it's all gone. What are your what are your priorities right now to increase visibility and among the communities? And
Yeah, visibility and public awareness of what we do.
Yeah.
So that's what this is good for.
do you have a pet project that you're going to showcase that'll call attention to who you are, what you do?
I think they've been smaller ones, I think.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
I
some of the
don't-
ones like
I
the,
don't- yeah.
I mean, people probably will see, it depends on the publicity we give it. Sometimes we just do it, but we don't tell a lot of people what we do, like doing the stone walls and
Right.
doing the things at Heritage
I'd
Park.
like to collaborate more
But
as
maybe
a
that's
group.
something that could happen is
Right.
we put out a placard up there or something that says in-process work or
Right.
something.
But possibly collaborate with the tree commission, and there are a lot of good groups in town, and if we collaborate a little more, solid waste recycling, just so we can all work together and,
I find getting the
Doing well.
word out is such a problem. Now with newspapers going south and radio stations all sounding the same and so forth, it's hard for folks like you, like the commission, to get the word out. You're working and you're involved and you're committed and nobody knows, and that's
Right.
not fair. I hope that your appearance
I mean,
today...
you probably have to put it out on something like Facebook or something like that. But
That's the
But I-
latest thing, is the social network and websites and so forth. But you're in competition with so many other people, huh?
exactly.
So, well, look at it this way. You'll always have cable.
yeah, there you go.
You're
Those have
invited.
cable, yeah.
You're invited to come back anytime.
But I think that's the biggest thing, is to let people know that we're there, what we do. And like I said, for years, it was just kind of floating along. And I guess its heyday was when they were doing the open space and doing the land. And that actually turned into a spur group. And then this one kind of fell by the wayside at that point.
Well, the Historical Society is a good example of something that has been dormant, and then all of a sudden the certain people
Shows what leadership and
Phillips-
interest can
yeah,
do.
got
Exactly.
involved, and they set it on fire, and the membership went up, and it's a thriving thing now. And the Manor House has and the Brown House now has come alive. Of course, soccer has never been dead.
No.
But we have a number of other outlet programs on PEG cable, and you're invited always to come. You might want to consider doing some public service spots. These are a little high. I'm David, and I'm a nice fellow. I don't have my cardigan sweater on today, but I'd like you to come to our meetings and so forth. And I am Conni
Well,
Harding.
we also mentioned, we do all this with no funding, basically.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Well, that's the
like
fun of
everybody
it,
else,
right?
funding will help. So everything we get, we have to get donated. I don't care if it's a sign. Somebody has to be willing to donate it, time, effort, materials.
Money corrupts.
So we're the most pure, the pure commission there is. 'Cause
Well, but I notice in your charter that you have many octopus legs out to
we can
in
get the help
community.
from the town if we need it. In
And
the ways of,
organizations, I would imagine that the KFC, the Lions, groups like that would be responsive to saying, hey, we need a sign, or we need some volunteers to... Do you do any of that beach cleanup stuff? Is that yours? Or?
we're not really an
No.
environmental per se group.
No. Well, I see.
We'd be making sure that they could have access to it, that the beach was
Right.
there.
Right. Be checking.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
We're the next level up. We're going to give them something to
It
clean.
reminds me of that group at, is it off Macquarie Lane or whatever, that's been talking about their property. Well, I've learned a lot,
Good.
and I'm glad to have met the two of you.
Super.
And I want you to feel that you're not a stranger here. You can come back anytime.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
folks, and thank everybody for watching Portsmouth this week, and we'll see you next time.